The stars in the Andromeda sector had not seen war for 300 years. Ships moved peacefully between worlds, carrying goods and passengers without fear. Children on 1,000 different planets grew up never knowing what battle meant. Peace was not just a dream anymore. It was real life. Admiral Kextar stood on the bridge of his ship, the Eternal Dawn. He was tall and blue, with skin that glowed softly in the dark. His people were called Zephyrians. They had once been warriors, but those days were long gone. Now they traded and explored. They built cities instead of weapons. The admiral looked out at the space around him. Hundreds of ships moved along the trade routes. Some carried food from the farming worlds. Others brought metals from the mining planets. Still others carried people who wanted to see new places. All of them traveled safely under the protection of the Galactic Council. "Report," Kextar said to his second officer. "All quiet, sir. No problems anywhere in the sector. The trade ships are on schedule. The patrol routes are clear." Kextar nodded. It was always the same. Every day for the past 10 years had been peaceful. Sometimes he wondered if they even needed warships anymore, but the Council kept them around just in case. Old habits were hard to break. On the other side of the galaxy, Commander Velinara was reading her daily reports. She was different from Kextar. Her body looked like it was made of living crystal. Light passed through her and made rainbow patterns on the walls. Her people were called the Crystalline Coalition. They used to fight the Zephyrians long ago. Now they worked together. Velinara's job was to watch for trouble. She commanded the peace enforcement teams. When small problems happened, she sent ships to help solve them. But there had not been any real trouble for a very long time. She looked at her screen. 3 minor trade disputes this month. All solved. With talking. 1 small accident when 2 ships got too close. No one was hurt. 1 complaint about noise from a mining operation. The miners agreed to work more quietly. Another boring month, she said to herself. But she was happy about it. Boring was good. Boring meant peace. The real center of galactic peace was a planet called Harmony. It was not owned by any one species. All the different alien races had built it together after the Great War ended. The planet had no weapons. No armies, just meeting. Halls and libraries and gardens. Chancellor Mordun walked through the main council building. He was huge, even for a Zephyrian. But half of his body had been replaced with crystal parts. The crystal came from the Crystalline Coalition. It was a symbol. It showed that old enemies could become friends. It showed that different peoples could work together. The Chancellor entered the great meeting hall. Representatives from 200. Different worlds were there. Some looked like giant insects. Others were made of living metal. A few were just clouds of gas that spoke through machines. They were all different, but they all wanted the same thing. Peace. "Friends," the Chancellor said in his deep voice. "Today, we will discuss the new cultural exchange program. The art students from Kepler 7 want to study music on the crystal worlds. The young scientists from the metal planets want to learn farming techniques." The representatives talked quietly among themselves. They used translation devices so everyone could understand each other. It had taken decades to build these devices. They were one of the great achievements of the peaceful years. An insect-like delegate raised a clawed arm. "What about the border worlds? Are they still asking to join the council?" "Yes," the Chancellor replied. 15 new worlds have applied this year. We will send inspection teams to make sure they meet our peace requirements. No weapons of mass destruction, no slavery, no plans for conquest. If they pass, they can join our community. It was the same conversation they had every month. More worlds wanted to join the peaceful galaxy. The council grew larger and stronger every year. War was becoming just a story that old people told to children. But far away, at the edge of known space, something was happening. Long-range sensors on the outer monitoring stations began to pick up strange signals. Ships were moving in the empty space between galaxies. Ships that no one recognized. Lieutenant Jervik was working the night shift at Outpost 7. It was the most boring job in the galaxy. He watched empty space for things that never came. His people were called the Watchers. They had good eyes and quick minds. That was why they got the job of looking for trouble. Jervik was drinking his third cup of stimulant when his screen started flashing. He sat up straight. Something was out there. Multiple contacts, moving fast. Coming toward. Council space. He checked his instruments twice. Then he checked them again. The readings were correct. Unknown ships were approaching the galaxy. Lots of them. Jorvik pressed the emergency button. Red lights started flashing all over the outpost. Alarms rang. Other watchers ran to their stations. "What do you have?" asked Commander Yixdal. "Unknown fleet. Distance 40,000 units. Speed increasing. Technology unknown. I count at least 50 ships." The commander looked at the screen. In all his years of service, he had never seen anything like this. Send the alert to Harmony. Priority 1. First contact protocols. Within hours, the message reached every corner of the galaxy. Unknown aliens were coming. The peaceful civilizations prepared to welcome them. They had done this before. New species showed up every few years. Most of them were friendly. All of them eventually joined the council. Chancellor Mordoon called an emergency meeting. "My friends, we have visitors. Unknown species approaching from outside our galaxy. We will send the diplomatic fleet to greet them. We will offer them the hand of friendship. We will show them what peace can accomplish." The representatives cheered. Another species to add to their community. Another world to share knowledge with. Another culture to learn from. Admiral Kextar received his orders. Take the diplomatic squadron to the edge of space. Make contact with the newcomers. Follow all the protocols. Be friendly but careful. Commander Velinara prepared her ships too, just in case the newcomers were not friendly. But everyone expected them to be peaceful. Why would anyone want to fight when they could join the greatest civilization in the galaxy? The ships of the Galactic Council moved toward the edge of space. They carried gifts and translators and hopes for new friendships. No one suspected that these newcomers were different. No one knew that they came from a world where peace was rare and war was common. The humans were coming, and they would change everything. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the New Horizon and watched the alien ships approach. They were beautiful. The hulls were smooth and curved like pieces of art. Soft lights glowed along their sides in colors he had never seen before. Nothing like the gray metal warships of Earth. First contact in human history, he said quietly to himself. Better not mess this up. Dr. Lisa Grant was checking her equipment for the 10th time. She was the mission's expert on alien life. For years she had wondered what other species might look like. Now she was about to find out. Captain, the alien. "Ships are slowing down," reported Lieutenant Kevin Walsh from his station. "They're sending some kind of signal." "Put it through the translator," Morrison ordered. A voice filled the bridge. It sounded strange but friendly. "Welcome, unknown travelers. We are representatives of the Galactic Council. We come in peace. We wish to learn about you and your people." Morrison smiled. "Send our reply. Tell them we're humans from the planet Earth. We also come in peace." The meeting was arranged to take place on a massive space station called Nexus Prime. Morrison had never seen anything so big. The station was like a small city floating in space. Ships from dozens of different worlds were docked there. Ambassador Peter Hayes adjusted his uniform one more time before leaving the shuttle. He had been a diplomat for 20 years, but this was bigger than anything he had ever done. The future of humanity might depend on what happened in the next few hours. The airlock opened and Hayes stepped into the station. The artificial gravity felt normal, but everything else was amazing. The walls seemed to be made of living light. Creatures he could never have imagined walked through the corridors. Some had wings. Others moved on 6 legs. One looked like a walking tree, a tall blue. Alien was waiting for them. I am Admiral Kekstar. Welcome to Nexus Prime. We are honored to meet you. Hayes shook the alien's hand. It felt warm and slightly electric. I'm Ambassador Peter Hayes, representing the people of Earth. Thank you for your welcome. They were led to a huge meeting room. Representatives from many different species were there. Hayes tried not to stare, but it was hard. He had studied alien contact procedures, but nothing had prepared him for this. The crystal being that introduced herself as Commander Velinara spoke first. Tell us about your world. How long have you had space travel? What is your government like? Are you a peaceful people? Hayes thought carefully before answering. We've had space travel for about 100 years. We have many governments on our world, but they work together through an organization called the United Nations. As for peace, double quotes, he paused. We try to be peaceful, but we haven't always succeeded. The aliens looked at each other. Through their translators, Hayes could hear them whispering. Dr. Lisa Grant was in another part of the station, sharing information with alien scientists. They were fascinated by human biology. She was equally amazed by theirs. Your species has incredible diversity, said a scientist whose body seemed to be made of flowing energy. Most species in our galaxy are much more uniform. What about your military? Asked another alien. This one looked like a large insect. Do you have weapons? Lisa felt uncomfortable. Well, yes. We have armies and navies. We need them for protection. Protection from what? The energy being asked. Who threatens you? Sometimes we threaten each other, Lisa admitted. Humans don't always agree. Sometimes disagreements become conflicts. The alien scientists became very quiet. Back in the main meeting room, Ambassador Hayes was trying to explain human history. Every question made the situation worse. You have had how many wars? Asked Chancellor Mordun. It's hard to count, Hayes said. Thousands, I suppose. But we've also had long periods of peace. How long? Asked Velinara. The longest was maybe 40 years between major conflicts. The aliens were shocked. 40 years was nothing to them. Some of their peaceful periods had lasted longer than human civilization. What about weapons of mass destruction? Asked Admiral Kekstar. Hayes knew. He had to be honest. We have nuclear weapons. Enough to destroy our own planet several times over. The room became completely silent. Hayes could hear his own heartbeat. Captain Amy Foster was giving a demonstration of human combat, training to a group of curious aliens. She thought it would be friendly and educational. She was wrong. Human soldiers train from a young age, she explained. We learn hand-to-hand combat, weapons use, and tactical thinking. She asked for a volunteer and a crystalline officer. Stepped forward. Foster showed some basic defensive moves. She was very careful to be gentle. But when the alien tried to copy her movements, he moved too slowly. Foster instinctively responded with a counter-move that sent the alien to the ground. The crystalline wasn't seriously hurt, but he was shaken. Other aliens rushed to help him. Foster tried to apologize, but the damage was done. Commander Rick Barnes was in the ship's armory, showing alien visitors human weapons. He thought they would be interested in the technology. He was right, but not in the way he expected. This is a standard assault rifle, he explained, holding up the weapon. It can fire 600 rounds per minute. The alien stared at the weapon like it was a poisonous snake. "You carry these in your ships?" asked a metal-bodied alien. "Of course," Barnes said. "How else would we defend ourselves?" "But why would you need to defend yourselves?" the alien asked. "We are meeting in peace." Barnes looked confused. "Well, yes, but what if someone attacks us? Who would attack you?" Another alien asked. Barnes couldn't think of a good answer. Word of these encounters spread quickly through the station. The aliens held emergency meetings. They talked in worried voices. The humans, they realized, were not like other species. They had met. Dr. Grant found herself answering more and more difficult questions. "You say humans fight wars for resources," said the energy scientist, "but surely you can share what you need?" "We try," Lisa said, "but sometimes there isn't enough for everyone." "Then why don't you ask the galaxy for help?" "We have plenty of resources." Lisa stared at him. "You would just give us what we need?" "Of course. That's what civilized species do." It was becoming clear that humans and the galactic civilization had very different ideas about how the universe worked. Ambassador Hayes received an urgent message. The Galactic Council wanted to meet in private. Without the humans. Captain Morrison was called back to his ship. His communications officer looked worried. "Sir, we're picking up a lot of military traffic. Alien ships are moving toward our position." Morrison looked at the scanner. Dozens of alien vessels were gathering around. Nexus Prime. They weren't acting hostile yet, but they weren't acting friendly either. "Get me the ambassador," Morrison ordered. When Hayes returned to the human ships, his face was grim. "We have a problem. The aliens think we're dangerous. They're scared of us." "Scared?" Morrison couldn't believe it. "We're just one small fleet. They have hundreds of ships." "That's not the point," Hayes said. "They think our whole species is a threat to galactic peace. They want us to return to Earth and never come back." Dr. Grant shook her head. "But we're not here to fight. We just want to learn and trade." "They don't see it that way," Hayes replied. "To them, we're a species that thinks violence is normal. They can't understand that." The situation was getting worse by the hour. More alien ships arrived. The humans found themselves surrounded. The galaxy that had seemed so welcoming was now full of suspicion and fear. Captain Morrison called his senior officers together. "It looks like our peaceful first contact isn't going as planned. Recommendations?" "We could try to explain better," suggested Dr. Grant. "We could show them our defensive capabilities," said Captain Foster. "Or we could just leave," said Ambassador Hayes. "Go home and pretend this never happened." Morrison looked out at the alien fleet surrounding them. "I don't think they're going to let us leave." The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything in 300 years. Representatives from every member world filled the great chamber on Harmony. The air was thick with fear and worry. No one could remember the last time so many species had gathered for a crisis meeting. Chancellor Morden stood at the center of the room. His crystal implants flickered with nervous energy. "My fellow beings, we face a threat unlike any we have known. These humans represent everything we thought we had left behind." Commander Velinara projected images from the human encounters. "Look at their weapons. Look at their training. They prepare for war like we prepare for breakfast. It is natural to them." An insect delegate clicked his mandibles nervously. "In their short meeting with us, they mentioned nuclear weapons. Weapons that can destroy entire worlds. What kind of species builds such things?" "The kind that uses them," replied a gas cloud representative through its speaking device. "We have studied their history. They have used these terrible weapons against their own kind." Admiral Kextar had been quiet until now. He was old enough to remember the last days of the Great War. "I have seen war," he said slowly. "I have seen what violence can do. These humans make us look like children playing games." The room fell silent. Everyone respected Kextar. If he was afraid, they all should be afraid. Chancellor Morgan activated the long-range communications. "Bring me Fleet Admiral Zorthek." The hologram that appeared was of an ancient Zephyrian. His blue skin was covered with old battle scars. His eyes were hard and cold. He had been the greatest military commander of the Great War. For 50 years he had lived in retirement, trying to forget the violence of his past. "You called me back to service," Zorthek said. "It must be serious. We need your expertise." The Chancellor replied, "We face a species that understands war better than we ever did." Zorthek studied the human data for several minutes. His expression grew darker with each page. "These are not warriors," he said finally. "Warriors have honor. These are something else. They fight total war. They destroy everything to win." "What do you recommend?" asked Velinara. "Eliminate them before they can spread," Zorthik said without hesitation. "Show no mercy. Give them no chance to use their knowledge against us." The council members looked at each other in shock. They had not heard such words in centuries. Dr. Kailana, the council's chief strategist, had been studying human military concepts. What she found terrified her. "They have ideas we never considered," she reported. "They call some casualties acceptable losses. They plan for their own people to die in battle." "Impossible," gasped a tree-like delegate. "No civilized species sacrifices its own. Humans do," Kailana continued. "They have a concept called strategic retreat. They will lose battles on purpose to win wars. They think decades ahead. They plan for conflicts that might never happen." The evidence was overwhelming. Humans were not just another species seeking to join the galactic community. They were a fundamental threat to everything the galaxy had built. Fleet Admiral Zorthek began calling up ships from across the galaxy. The Zephyrian battle fleets emerged from mothballs. Crystalline warforms that had been sleeping for centuries came online. Even the peaceful trading species began arming their vessels. Captain Jake Morrison watched the buildup with growing alarm. Human long-range sensors showed the largest military gathering in galactic history. Hundreds of ships were converging on human space. "Sir, we're getting reports from our other colonies," reported Lieutenant Walsh. "Alien fleets are surrounding all human worlds. No one is being allowed in or out." Dr. Lisa Grant was working frantically to establish communication. "They won't answer our messages," she reported. "Every channel is blocked." Ambassador Hayes tried one more diplomatic approach. He sent a personal message to Chancellor Morgan. "Please, let us explain. We are not your enemies. We came in peace." The reply was cold and final. "You have 72 standard hours to surrender unconditionally. Submit to relocation and monitoring, or face the consequences." On Earth, President Maria Santos called an emergency meeting of world leaders. The video conference included every major nation. For the first time in decades, old enemies sat together facing a common threat. "The situation is clear," General Chris Walker reported. "We are outnumbered approximately 1,000 to 1. Their technology is more advanced than ours. In a straight fight, we cannot win." The Russian president spoke first. "Perhaps we should consider their terms. Relocation might be better than extinction." "No," said the Chinese premier. "We cannot submit to alien rule. What kind of life would that be for our children?" President Santos looked around the virtual table. "Does anyone believe they will treat us well? They see us as dangerous animals. They want us contained." Admiral Helen Price, Earth's highest-ranking military officer, had been studying the alien fleet formations. "Their ships are impressive, but their tactics are outdated. A fight like this is still the ancient wars they remember." "What do you mean?" asked Santos. They expect formal battle lines, direct confrontation, honor and glory. Price smiled grimly. They've forgotten that war is not about honor. It's about winning. General Walker nodded. We have one advantage. They think they understand us, but they don't. They've studied our history, but they don't understand our nature. The 72-hour deadline approached. Across human space, military, forces prepared for the impossible. Earth's orbital defense platforms powered up. Colonial militias armed themselves with whatever weapons they could find. Civilian ships were converted into improvised warships. Captain Morrison gathered his senior. Staff, orders from Earth Command are clear. We do not surrender. We do not submit. We show them what humans are really capable of. Dr. Grant looked worried. Jake, we're facing the combined military might of hundreds of worlds. How can we possibly fight them all? Captain Amy Foster had been quiet during the briefing. Now she spoke up. We don't fight them all at once. We fight them the way humans have always fought when outnumbered. How? Asked Morrison. Smart, dirty, without rules. Foster's eyes were hard. They want to see what human warfare looks like? Let's show them. Fleet Admiral Zorthik stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Righteous Fury. Around him, the largest military fleet in galactic history waited for his orders. The human deadline had passed with no surrender. Begin the operation, he commanded. Eliminate the human threat. The alien fleet moved forward in perfect formation. Their ships gleamed in the starlight, their weapons charged with devastating power. They were ready for glorious battle against a worthy enemy. They were not ready for what the humans had planned. Captain John Stevens commanded a small patrol ship near the Proxima colony. His orders were simple. Survive the first attack and begin. Phase 1. As the alien fleet approached, he did something they never expected. He ran away, but not the way they thought he would. Instead of fleeing in panic, Stevens led his ships in a carefully planned retreat. He drew the alien pursuit into the asteroid belt around Proxima. Then he triggered the charges his engineers had spent the last 3 days placing. The aliens had superior shields and armor. But when 1,000,000 tons of rock, moving at high speed, hit their ships, physics didn't care about advanced technology. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Walsh was waiting with her fighter squadron behind Proxima's largest moon. As the alien fleet struggled with the asteroid trap, she led her ships in a lightning attack on their supply vessels. The aliens expected humans to fight with honor, to attack military targets, to follow the rules of civilized warfare. Sarah's fighters targeted the alien food supplies, fuel depots, and communication arrays. Within minutes, the alien fleet was blind, hungry, and running low on power. Colonel Danny Murphy had been a Special Forces operator before joining the Colonial Guard. He knew how to fight dirty, while the alien fleet was distracted by the space battle. He led teams of commandos to capture alien supply bases on nearby planets. The aliens found their secure rear areas under attack by enemies who seemed to appear from nowhere. Humans struck fast and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. Fleet Admiral Zorthik watched his perfect battle plan fall apart. The humans weren't fighting like civilized beings. They were fighting like wild animals. No honor, no rules, just pure survival instinct. Report, he demanded. Sir, we've lost contact with 15 supply ships. Our forward bases are under attack. The humans are everywhere and nowhere. Zorthik had fought in the Great War, but this was different. This was chaos. This was madness. This was human warfare. The war that was supposed to last 3 days had been going on for 2 months. Fleet Admiral Zorthik stared at the tactical display in disbelief. Red marks showed human attacks across dozens of star systems. His mighty fleet was scattered and bleeding. "How many ships have we lost?" he asked his aide. 47 destroyed, sir. 112 damaged. And we still haven't captured a single human world. Zorthik closed his eyes. In the Great War, battles were fought between fleets in open space. Winners and losers were clear. This was something else entirely. The humans fought like ghosts. Captain Lisa Rodriguez had been given the most dangerous mission in human space. Her ship, the Defiant, was loaded with recording equipment instead of weapons. Her job was to reach the alien command ship and deliver a message to the galaxy. "Approaching the target," reported her navigator. "Enemy fleet dead ahead." Rodriguez looked at her crew. They were all volunteers. They all knew this was probably a one-way trip. "Remember, we're not here to fight. We're here to talk." The Defiant raced toward the alien fleet. Enemy ships turned to intercept, but Rodriguez had planned her approach carefully. She used the wreckage from earlier battles as cover. She flew through debris fields that would hide her ship from sensors. Alarm bells rang throughout the righteous fury as the human ship appeared on their screens. "How did they get so close?" demanded Zorthik. "Unknown, sir. They came through the debris field. Our sensors couldn't track them, destroy them. Sir, they're transmitting on all frequencies. It's going to every ship in the fleet." The message began broadcasting before Zorthik could stop it. Commander Rodriguez appeared on screens throughout the alien fleet. "My name is Lisa Rodriguez. I'm speaking for all humanity. You came to our worlds with weapons. You told us to surrender or die. You said we were too dangerous to live free, but I have a question for you." Rodriguez paused. Behind her, explosions lit up space as alien weapons targeted her ship. "Why are you trying to destroy us for being different? We never attacked you. We never threatened your worlds. We came in peace, and you responded with war. Who is really the threat here?" The message continued broadcasting even as the Defiant took hit after hit. Rodriguez kept talking as her ship fell apart around her. "You say we're violent. You say we're dangerous. But look around you. Who brought weapons to this meeting? Who started shooting first? We're fighting now because you gave us no choice. We're fighting because you decided we don't deserve to live free." The ship's hull was cracking. Emergency lights flashed red, but Rodriguez's voice remained steady. "We don't want to conquer your worlds. We don't want to rule your people. We just want the same thing you want. We want our children to grow up safe. We want to trade and learn and explore. We want to be part of something bigger than ourselves." An explosion rocked the bridge. Rodriguez gripped her chair, but kept talking. "You united your galaxy by choosing peace over war. But when you met us, you chose war over understanding. You became the thing you once fought against. You became the aggressors." The final blast tore through the Defiance bridge. The transmission ended, but the message had been heard. It spread through the alien fleet like wildfire. Ships relayed it to their home worlds. Within hours, billions of beings across the galaxy were watching Rodriguez's final speech. On the crystal worlds, crowds gathered around public screens. On Zephyrian planets, families debated around dinner tables. The peaceful species that had lived without war for centuries were asking uncomfortable questions. Dr. Kailana was in her laboratory when the protests began. Her people were known for being calm and logical. They never showed strong emotions, but now they were marching in the streets. "Stop the war," they chanted. "Question the council. Seek the truth." Similar scenes played out on hundreds of worlds. The galaxy that had united for peace was dividing over war. Chancellor Mordoon called an emergency session, but half the council members refused to attend. Those who came were angry and confused. "The humans are manipulating our people," insisted. Admiral Kekstar. This is exactly what we feared. They're turning us against each other. Or maybe they're showing us something we refuse to see, replied a delegate from the outer worlds. Maybe we made a mistake. Commander Velinara had been studying the battle. Reports. What she found disturbed her. In 2 months of fighting, the humans have attacked only military targets. They haven't harmed a single civilian. They've gone out of their way to avoid non-combatants. That proves nothing, Kekstar argued. It proves they're not the monsters we thought they were, Velinara shot back. What kind of bloodthirsty killers? Go to such trouble to avoid hurting innocents? The debate raged for hours. Meanwhile, the war continued. General Chris Walker was coordinating human defenses from a hidden base in the asteroid belt. The reports coming in were mixed. Humanity was holding its own, but barely. We can't keep this up forever, reported Colonel Murphy. We're running low on supplies. Our people are exhausted. How long can we last? Walker asked. Maybe another month, 2 if we're lucky. Walker nodded. The humans had fought better than anyone expected, but they were still vastly outnumbered. Something had to change soon. The change came from an unexpected source. Dr. Kailana had been analyzing the economic data from the war. What she found shocked the council. The cost of this conflict is destroying us, she reported. We've spent more resources in 2 months than we normally use in 5 years. Trade has stopped. Production has dropped. Some worlds are facing shortages. Chancellor Mordon looked at the numbers. The galaxy's economy was built on peaceful cooperation. It couldn't handle a prolonged war. What are you suggesting? He asked. That we find another solution. The humans are willing to negotiate. They've said so repeatedly. Maybe it's time we listened. Fleet Admiral Zorthik was furious when he received the Council's message. Negotiate? With them? After everything they've done? But even he could see the writing on the wall. His fleet was falling apart. His officers were questioning orders. The home worlds were demanding answers he couldn't give. The first peace talks were held on neutral ground. A space station at the edge of the galaxy, far from both human and Council space. Captain Jake Morrison represented humanity. Chancellor Mordun spoke for the aliens. Your people fought well, Morgan admitted. Better than we expected. We fought for our freedom, Morrison replied. That's all we ever wanted. But you're so violent, so ready for war. Morrison shook his head. You mistake readiness for eagerness. We prepare for war so we can preserve peace. We understand conflict so we can avoid it. The talks lasted for weeks. Slowly, carefully, the two sides began to understand each other. The aliens learned that human aggression was defensive, not offensive. Humans learned that galactic peace was real, not just a temporary calm. The final treaty was signed 6 months after the first shots were fired. Humanity would join the Galactic Council as equal members. In return, they would help protect the galaxy from future threats. Admiral Helen Price stood on the bridge of her new flagship, the Peacekeeper. Around her, human and alien officers worked side by side. She was now the first human member of the Galactic Defense Council. Incoming message from the Outer Rim, reported her Zephyrian communications officer. Unknown ships approaching. Possible. Hostile intent. Price smiled. Alert the fleet. All ships, human and council vessels together. Let's show these newcomers what real unity looks like. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Peace was not just the absence of war. True peace came from understanding and accepting differences. The humans who once seemed like the greatest threat had become the strongest defenders of galactic harmony. Captain Morrison, now serving as humanity's first ambassador to the Council, often thought about Commander Rodriguez's sacrifice. Her question had changed everything. Who is really the threat here? The answer had surprised everyone. The real threat wasn't those who understood war. The real threat was those who feared it so much they would start one to prevent it. In trying to destroy the warlike humans, the peaceful galaxy had rediscovered its own capacity for violence. But they had also discovered something else. They had learned that sometimes the best guardians of peace are those who truly understand the cost of war. The humans didn't love fighting. They just refused to surrender their freedom. And in the end, that refusal had made the entire galaxy more free. The war was over. The real peace had just begun.